With me now is Tara Mahler. She is a former CIA military analyst. So, Tara, what is the most important message that the president, if he gives a public address, a public statement, what's the most important thing he can say?
I think after the speech we saw from the Oval Office on Sunday, what he needs to do on Monday is he needs to give a bit more specifics. I felt like the speech Sunday night was basically repetition of the same message he's been giving, and this is not working for the American public. They're not confident in how he's handling ISIS. Fear about terrorism is up, so I think he really needs to present an authentic and clear and candid image of what is actually happening, the successes that have occurred, the threats that exist, and a little bit more detail would be helpful.
A little more detail would be helpful. I want to bring you in Walid Phares. He is a Fox News Middle East analyst. Less than 1 month after the terrorist attacks in Paris, authorities are saying one of the suicide bombers used a fake passport to get into Europe, put himself among the Syrian refugees, and that ISIS has at least one official passport printing machine. Walid, what now for the U.S.?
In the case of Paris, I just spoke today with a top French expert who's with NATO as well, still in Washington now, and most European intelligence services, I would say all of them, are extremely concerned about what they call the infiltration of migrants. Not the migrants, but the jihadi infiltration of migrants. With regard to the United States, the threat is a little bit different, but comes from the same root, i.e. the radicalized individual. And what I think the president should be doing, if he can, on Monday, is to explain to the American public what is it that we are facing off with. Is it a network? Is it an ideology? The American public needs much more clarifications.
So I want to ask you about the PR of ISIS, because they have shown us more or less to be very effective communicators. And one report, Walid, you just mentioned being in Paris, that I heard while I was there is that this fake Syrian passport was planted on purpose with one of the suicide bombers outside the Stadium of France because it makes ISIS look bad that Muslims want to leave and not participate in the caliphate that they are building. Does that make sense to you?
Well, I heard that version. There are many other versions, and both are conflictive. What is important for ISIS is to do the decoy tactic, meaning to have us concentrate on one issue, get us into a debate about it, and then they will surprise us with something else. Look what happened between Paris and California. We were focusing on one style, and then another style surprised us.
So, Tara, bringing you back in, what do you make of this issue of potentially fake passports, what that means to the U.S., as we start to absorb Syrian refugees?
It's really concerning. The passport issue is really concerning. It's concerning from a Homeland Security perspective. It's concerning from law enforcement intelligence perspective. And I think that's why on Monday, when you see the president speak from the Pentagon briefing room after meeting with the National Security Council and officials at the Pentagon, you need to hear him outline clearly and specifically for the American public what is happening in terms of law enforcement, intelligence resources, what is actually changing behind the scenes. He needs to spell this out more clearly. He's just been sort of repeating the same overarching strategy in terms of airstrikes and building a coalition, and I don't think that's being an effective message. There's a lot of work being done behind the scenes, and I think the American public, if given a clear and more specific, concrete plan of action, would feel a little bit more secure in what's going on here.
Tara Mahler, Walid Phares, thank you to you both. Glad to have you with me.